Tonight we're going to be out of Judges chapter 11, right? So Hebrews chapter 11, the heroes of faith. Well, we finished up Samson there a couple weeks ago, and this week we're going to come in at chapter 11, all right? Which is Jephthah was actually the way that it was pronounced according to the little guide thing. Listening to the person pronounce it. But I call him Jephthah, because that's just the way that I said it. But Jephthah, the Gileadite, all right? I don't want to bring up a downer, and I should probably wait until, maybe we'll wait until after class. Remind me about next Tuesday. In class. Okay. So guys, chapter 11. You guys ready? Jump right in. Heroes of faith, different experiences of different people that God chose to use and during this time of the book of Judges. All right? In this, again, what we've seen over and over and over again is a moment where there is great truth that is brought, faith that is lived, victories that are had, peace that is had throughout the people and throughout the land and throughout the body. And then usually what you will see in there is that all of a sudden there was those who did go away from the Lord, they adopt the gods of the other lands around them, and then what ends up happening is they end up in a lot of pain and suffering. And until, again, either they turn or God rises up someone else to help them turn. Okay? So that's kind of been the repetitive kind of theme here throughout the Judges and throughout the Judges that we have read about so far. So this one here. So Jephthah, the Gileadite, was a mighty man of valor and bravery, yes? But he was the son of a harlot. And Gilead begot Jephthah. I'm just going to call him Jeff. All right? All right. So Jeff, his wife, bore sons. And when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jeff out, and they said to him, "You shall have no inheritance in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." All right? So the timing and the circumstances of this, it appears as though Jeff is actually the oldest. Whether that is the exact case or not doesn't really matter. The reality is that Gilead had a son by a harlot, and then had two with his wife. Okay? Now, he raised him, obviously, as his own son, without any distinction between him and his other sons. However, the two sons, once they were aware of this, drive him out. Okay? And do not want him to be able to partake in their inheritance. Okay? Immediately, what do you see from the heart of the people? Hatred, greed, division, self-seeking. You see a lot of those things that are all the fruits of the flesh, right? And all minus the Lord, His Spirit, right? And you see that being lived out, just boom, 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 right here. Yes? So then it says that he fled from his brothers and he dwelt in the land of Tob. And worthless men banded together. So, Amanda, next time I see you hanging around with those guys, and I tell you, stop hanging around with worthless men, you'll know what I'm referring to, all right? Sorry. She made a comment, so I just figured I could use her. But, I'm sorry. Growing up and everything, like my dad would like have like different little words for different dudes, and troublemakers and this and that. But he had different words that he would use. And I thought this one was kind of funny that the author of Judges says that these men were nothing but just worthless, and it was a bunch of worthless men that gathered together and banded together. And they decided to make something worth something, so they went out raiding. Which is stealing, right? Literally, that word worthless, what was used here, guys, well, literally what it was, going back to the Hebrew, so all jokes aside, going back to the Hebrew, was that they were the men that were despised and shunned by all else. So in other words, they were outcasts. And so all these that were outcasts, they banded together. The reason why I bring this up is because that would not be an abnormal thing, right? You had the lepers, right? And so what would they have to do to survive? They had to band together, right? They weren't allowed to work jobs, things like that, because they were considered nothing, right? And so what they had to do in most of those situations was they had to become thieves and rape and do things like that, or even just rape fields. You know, it wasn't necessarily robbing people directly, but it could be just the food and the things like that, okay? And so just understanding that, when it says that here, instead of worthless, it might have been like a leper colony, or it could have been like any kind of thing like that, in which it was people that were outcast were not considered normal or a part of the rest, and therefore they were outcasts and weren't allowed to work on the farms and do any of those kind of things where they could produce for themselves. So they did not have the ability to produce for themselves, therefore they resulted to this. However, it's evident, becomes more evident here that Jeff was very, very good at it. And he was very brave. He was not scared to do so. Yeah? Which it says that even from a young child, that he was a man of valor. It goes on and says that it came to pass after a time, the people of Ammon made war against Israel. And so it was when the people of Ammon made war against Israel that the elders of Gilead went to Jeff and from the land of Tob. Then they said to Jeff, "Come and be our commander, that we may fight against the people of Ammon." So Jeff said to the elders of Gilead, Did you not hate me and expel me from my father's house? Why have you come to me now when you are in distress? And then they answer, and they say, well, this is why we have turned again to you now, that you may go with us and fight against the people of Ammon, and be our head over the inhabitants of Gilead. Let me ask you, why did they do it then?
They were in trouble.
They were in trouble, and why him?
Because it's okay for him to die. He was taking that.
Well, and honestly, what I think it is I think that he wasn't, because they already knew that he was a brave man, he was a man of valor, and he wasn't afraid. And so, you know, what better to lead you against an army, yes, than someone who's not going to be fearful and going to be filled with valor, yes. And obviously, guys, he was good. He would have to be a raider and to be doing it for a period of time, whatever that period was. But it's obvious everybody knew who he was and what he did.
Without being killed.
Without being killed, there's something kind of with this guy that's kind of special, right? And you know, obviously everybody respected whatever fighting skills or whatever he had. They didn't want to challenge that, which makes me think that he was probably very, very strong, very, very good, whether it was with sword, axe, or whatever it was that he used. He was very, very good with it, enough that the people knew what he did, that never challenged him in that. And when it came to this moment, all of a sudden they were like, wait a minute, we're in trouble, and we need somebody who can get us out of there. And he's the best candidate for that job. Yeah?
I heard somebody else already say that he was a leader, because it says that he went to those people and it said that they band together with him,
Yeah.
and that they went out raiding with him. So it means that he was the one that
He was the leader. Yeah, he was already the leader of that group.
Yeah, he didn't.
And
Still flourished, and he was able to.
yeah, he's able to survive. He still went on. You know, from the ones that threw it out, took from them probably from his own brothers, you know, and stuff like that. You know. But yeah, he was a leader. He was valor, and you know, so you kind of see like the character of who he is. And that kind of build right here is even those statements. Yes? And yet at the same time, you know, guys, so from the morality side, of the way that a lot of the morals would look at that is, okay, but he's the son of a harlot. Right? So the word is bastard. Right? Because he's really illegitimate. Is the way that he's viewed. Okay? And at that time, that's the way that it was, and that's why they were able, that's why the brothers were able to push him. See, otherwise he would have been able to stand and fight against that, right? But he really wasn't able to because he wasn't legitimate. And so in that, too, you know, like, but even the valor that it would take to walk away from something like that without harming them. Because valor kind of isn't always how you can fight in a moment, but it's also how you can walk away from a fight in a moment. You gotta be brave on both ends. Does that make sense? And that's one thing when I was growing up that really did hit me really, really hard growing up here in South Phoenix was, you know what, it takes a stronger man to actually be able to walk away from something than what it does to jump into it. You know, and it took a while for me to understand that and to like grasp that. You know, but it is a reality. It takes a lot to walk away. And he was able to, and again, he goes on. So here we have Jeff. So he says, the elders, did you hate me? They said, well, you know, basically they don't deny any of that, if you notice too. They don't deny his statements in that. And they were like, no, it's because of how you handled that. And who you are now is why we've come to you. Yes? So Jeff said to the elders of Gilead, so if you take me back home to fight against the people of Ammon, and the Lord does deliver them to me, shall I be your head? Because they already said, we want you to lead us. So he's asking them, so you're telling me that if I go back and I do this, then you're going to make me the head over everything. And then they go on to say, and they said, the Lord will be a witness between us if we do not do according to your words. It says, then Jeff went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. Jeff spoke all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. What does that mean? I have no idea what that really, like, what all of his words were that he had talked to God about. When he talked with God and whatever they had to, it was good right there. Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know if it was prayers. I don't know if it was, you know, exactly what that moment was right there, but it was definitely a moment that obviously he had with the Lord. Yes? And then it's interesting, too, it was the elders that came, the elders that were supposed to be the elders of the church, right, who had came. I forgot to mention that just a second. They're the ones who actually come to him to ask him. And then somewhere in there, he ends up getting to talking to God. It says, now Jeff sent messengers to the king of the people of Ammon. Yes? And so he says, what do you have against me that you have come to fight against me in my land? And the king of the people of Ammon answered the messenger of Jephthah, because Israel took away my land when they came up out of Egypt, from Ammon as far as Jabbok, and took the Jordan. Now therefore restore those lands peaceably. So what are they trying to tell them to do? Yeah? So do you guys remember what actually took place? What really took place? Nobody? The Israelites were led out of Egypt. And what were they told to do? Take the land. Yeah? Whose land is it? It's God's land. Yes? God gave it to them. Yes? And so now, all of a sudden, however many years later it has been, I haven't been tracking that because we've been jumping back and forth, but however many years later, all of a sudden, here we are. And this person, particularly the king here, is saying, man, you give back these territories, these pieces of land. You give them back to us peacefully, and then everything's going to be okay. Now, Jeff sends another messenger to the king of the people of Ammon, and he says to him, so thus says Jeff, Israel did not take away the land of Moab, nor the land of the people of Ammon. For when Israel came from Egypt, they walked through the wilderness as far as the Red Sea and came to Kadesh. So this is something just kind of fun right here, guys, because you're going to get a historical outlook on the happenings of what took place, and you don't get quite the same vision of this in other places in the scripture, as far as what happened on that wall. Okay? So if you can kind of remember the different territories as they did pass down through, the different places that they had stopped, and the different kind of events, and you know what happened there from Moses? Yes? then it can kind of give you a little bit of insight right here. So again, let me back up again. So he says, we did not take away the land of Moab, nor the land of Ammon, for when Israel came up from Egypt, they walked through the wilderness as far as the Red Sea and came to Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, please let me pass through your land. But the king of Edom would not heed. And in like manner, they sent to the king of Moab, but he would not consent. So Israel remained in Kadesh. And they went along through the wilderness and bypassed the land of Edom and the land of Moab, came to the east side of the land of Moab, and encamped on the other side of the Arnon, which I don't know what, I guess it's a place. But they did not enter the border of Moab, for the Arnon was the border of Moab. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, king of Heshbon, and Israel said to him, please, let us pass through your land into our place. But Sihon did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. So he gathered all his people together, encamped in Jahaz, and fought against Israel. And the Lord God of Israel delivered Sihon and all the people into the hand of Israel, and they defeated them. Thus Israel gained the possessions over the land of the Amorites, and they inhabited that country. They took possession of all the territories of the Amorites, from the Arnon to the Jabbok, and from the wilderness to the Jordan. And now the Lord God of Israel has disposed the Amorites from before his people, Israel. Should you then possess it? Will you not possess whatever Chemosh, your God, gives you to possess? So whatever the Lord, our God, takes in possession before us, then we will possess. And now you are any better than Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab. Did you ever strive against Israel? Or, I'm sorry, did he ever strive against Israel? Did he ever fight against them? While Israel dwelt in Heshbon and its villages, in Aurora and its villages, and in all the cities along the banks of Arnon, for 300 years. Why did you not recover them within that time? Therefore, I have not sinned against you, but in fact, you have wronged me by fighting against me. May the Lord, the judge, be singular, capitalized, judge, render judgment this day between the children of Israel and the people of Ammon. However, the king of the people of Ammon did not heed the words of Jeff that he sent. Okay, so let's stop for a second. Well, it's kind of humanistic, isn't it not? Isn't it somewhat just like humans, just in general? God says, hey, listen, just believe. No, I ain't going to believe. Pain, suffering, consequences. Just love. I ain't going to love. Pain, suffering, consequences. Just forgive. No, I ain't going to forgive. Pain, suffering, consequences. Yeah? It's crazy, guys, too. You realize what he just went over in the historical side of it was that some of those parts of those lands, they would have never touched, and they didn't even want. They didn't want to touch. They never wanted no part of it. But what they were told is to get there. And because the others wanted to war against them. Because others wanted to war against the people of God, they ended up losing, and the people of God ended up prospering. Again, this is a theme that started in Genesis and has not let up all the way through this. Yes? And for the people of God, guys, also there's great warnings in it. Yes? God gives his instructions. When the people go, no, I ain't going to live it that way, I'm going to go worship other gods and other things, there's pain and suffering and consequences. Yes? So those parts are true no matter who you are. Does that make sense? Yeah? And yet at the same time, the people of God, what God always ends up doing with them and for them, is end up moving things to where they would be believers. Yeah? Unfortunately, we've seen in one situation where it took a whole generation to die in order for the next generation to believe. And it is sad that that has to happen sometimes, but you know what? All of that too is in God's hand. He's the judge over those things. It's not for me to mess with and to play with. I think it's amazing. And I think it's beautiful in a sense. I don't know, in my mind, I'm like, man, okay, reading that first part. This guy is a warrior. And you'd have to say he's a warrior's warrior because all the other guys wanted to war along with him. And when it came down to actually have to fight a real war against another country, everybody wanted him to be the leader and the commander of their warriors. So I think this guy, as a warrior, is a heck of a warrior. And yet the smarts and the brains, the compassion and the desire, the pleading for there not to have to be that war or the destruction for the other people, the desire for them to be able to escape the judgment. Even practically tries to walk through and tries to explain as practical as possible, like, hey, listen, what are you talking about? You're saying I've sinned against you, and that's why you're wanting this war? Okay, well, let's reason. Let's see here. People were let out. We weren't allowed to pass through your land, so instead we went all the way around. So then we came up to another point, and all we had to do was just be let through this little tiny piece of your land to get over there to what God said was ours. And you refused to. And instead, and 300 years before, refused to, and their armies rose up, and God killed them all, and gave us their land. So for 300 years, we've been chilling. And now all of a sudden you show up, and now you say you want it back. When it was never yours in the first place. And by the way, if it really was yours, then why didn't your God? And if your God is so, because, when it comes down to it, who are you going to believe? Well, this is our land and our God. Well, okay, if God gave it, yeah, why don't you want it then? One. Second of all, then why did your God give it to us? Or actually, that's not the way he says it. He says, well, then why wouldn't your God take it? And if he did take any land and he gave it to you, wouldn't you say that was your possession? I mean, if God gives something to you, wouldn't you say that's your possession? Yeah? Well, and then if it's yours, then who is it to take it away? Only God. Because it was his. Only God gave it, and God can take it away. Now think about this in spiritual terms. We're talking about pieces of land, physically. What if we're talking about the spiritual? What if we're talking about faith? What if we're talking about Jesus Christ? What if we're talking about our salvation? What if we're talking about souls, our own soul, the souls of men, the souls of others that God adds to us? What if we're talking about those things? So if God gives, whose is it? If God gives it to you, whose is it? Well, it is still God, but whose is it? It's yours. And guess what? One thing that Jeff knew was, hey, listen, if you're going to try to take it away, then war's coming. And God will judge. I tell you something, though, about when others or Satan tries to rip away. Oh, well, it's okay. Satan just ripped them away. No, if God gave them, you fight for them. And then let God be the judge of the rest of it. Again, you understand what I mean? I'm talking about fist fights. Yeah? Do you not understand what I mean at all? I don't know. Some of you guys are staring at me like you have no idea what I'm talking about. Do you or do you not? You don't, Rob? Did you say no? Okay. So thank you for being honest, and that way I know I need to explain it further. Because I'm not sure if I need to or not. Okay, so no, I mean, if Dale comes forward and Dale say, who has he been given to? To me, to us, to you, to the church. Right? Because God's the one who saved him. Yes? God's the one who brought him, and God's the one who's given him to us. Right? Now, for some of us in our faith, we've experienced that. And so we know that no matter who tried to pry us, no matter what they would try to do, we ourselves would fight to the death with them. Yeah? But yet at the same time, Dale, if he's just saved, would he have that same, maybe not, right? So then, if somebody else is going to try, or Satan in this instance is going to try to steal Dale away, what should we do? Okay? I'd go further than that, Jim. I'd be fighting.
Yeah, that's what I said. Right.
I'm gonna be fighting for them. And guys, I don't know how many different conversations that just fly back through my mind with individuals and what they were trying to live was something different. And I wasn't trying to argue with them that really, but at the same time, I was. And it was a fight. It was a fight for your soul. And yes, it was with the words of God. As far as that part goes. But and the reason, yes, he tries to reason. And now look what you're talking about. So say if Dale was all mad at Christine, and that's why he ain't going no more, because Christine. Well, then I could reason with him, man, what do we believe? What do we come forward in? What do we confess? What do we baptize in? And you don't do that, right? You try to reason. And then fine, if you ain't gonna reason, man, this is just the way it is, man. You keep on living that crap, you're going to hell. This is my language. There is anybody out there in the world watching. But I'm sorry, but souls are more important than even language. I'm just sorry. But so I apologize about getting all passionate in it in the moment, but so be it. Because man, you know what? Their soul is more important. And I've had to go there with people. I've had to start with one side and try to build channel. I try to reason, and then all of a sudden I finally have to all right, guys, put on the gloves, man, we're going at it, man. This is the way that it is, man. I ain't backing down. This is what God has done. This is what's true. And you live that, man. You're in that cabin. You don't. You're going to hell. And that's what we're fighting for. Yeah? And I think that this right here is kind of a neat, different way of, I felt like, with the Lord kind of showing that taking place. It's right here with Jeff. And he's sitting there and he's like, you know what, man, I'm going to try to reason with you, but nonetheless, man, you know what, if you don't want to hear it, God will be the judge over it, and then we'll do this thing. Yeah? So, kind of stopping from the spiritual side of what I kind of seen and all that, and I want to share with you guys, jump back into the actual story, okay? So here we have, the king of the people of Ammon did not heed the word of Jeb and that they had sent him. So then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jeb, and he passed through Gilead, however you want to pronounce it, and Manasseh, and passed through Maspah and Gilead, and from Maspah of Gilead he advanced towards the people of Ammon. And Jeb made a vow to the Lord, and he said, if you will indeed deliver the people of Ammon into my hands, then it will be that whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the people of Ammon, surely be the Lord's. And I will offer it up as a burnt offering. Lord, give me victory. Whatever comes up out of my house, it'll be yours, and I'll kill it and do a burnt offering for you. So he advanced towards the people of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. He defeated them from Aurora as far as Manith, 20 cities. It's a long battle, by the way. You didn't know. Abel Caravan, with a very great slaughter. Thus the people of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. When Jeb came to the house of Mizpah, there was his daughter coming out to meet him with timbrels and dancing. And she was his only child. Besides her, there was neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass when he saw her that he tore his clothes, and he said, alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low. You are among those who trouble me. For I have given my word to the Lord, and I cannot go back on him. So then she turns to her father, and she says to him, my father, if you have given your word to the Lord, then do to me according to what you have got has gone out of your mouth. Because the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the people of Ammon. Then she said to her father, just let this thing be done for me, for let me alone for 2 months, that I may go and wander in the mountains, and bewail my virginity, my friends and I. And that means basically lament my virginity. Never knew a husband, never was going to. I was going to get to have that relationship. Know what it was like. So let me and my friends go out and bewail this for 2 months. So he said go, and she went her way for 2 months, her with her friends, and bewailed her virginity on the mountains. And it was so at the end of the 2 months that she returned to her father, and he carried out his vow with her, which he had vowed. She knew no man. She never sexually intimate anything. And it became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went 4 days each year to lament the daughter of Jephthah, the Gileadite. I almost start crying. And I do that anyways, about all kinds of things, but I only have one daughter, and I couldn't imagine dancing and just happy over a victory. And then, and even in his, and I couldn't even read the exclamation points the way that I should have. Emotionally, I just couldn't do it. Because every one of those was exclamation points. Alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low. You are among those who trouble me. And I don't know, if I was her, I said, what are you talking about? She's dancing and everything else, And just the heartbreak, and crushing that was to him. So guys, there's like a bunch of different things within this, all right? There are certain people who have theorized this started around the 12th century or so, is when this theory kind of formed, that they were like, oh, don't worry, she didn't really die. He didn't really do it. Because the last verse that it says there, though, is that she knew no man. So what it really meant is that he just locked her away and she was celibate the rest of her life, and so there's the beginning of the nuns. A life set aside unto God, virgins, never known man. Okay? But as Deb was pointing out, it says that he carried out his vow with her, which he had vowed. And what he had vowed was a burnt offering of whatever it was that came. There is nowhere in this that you will find, though, that it says the Lord appreciated it, wanted it, or accepted it in the sense of some form of payment as an offering is supposed to be. There is nowhere else in the Bible that you will see that the Lord says to ever do such a thing. However, in fact, if you want to look at what the Lord does say, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 33, Jesus Christ himself says again, you have heard that it was said to those of old that you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. You make an oath, you perform it to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by earth, for that is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for that is the city of the great king. Wasn't supposed to be. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black on it. But instead, let your yeses be yeses and your noes be noes, and for whatever is more than this is from the evil one. A great lesson here in one part is be careful what you promise. Be careful what you vow. Don't make a vow too quickly. You don't know how many times, like growing up and stuff like that myself personally, I would say things like, okay, God, if you just give me this, then I'll do this, do that, I'll be this way, be that way, so forth and so on. You know how often that happens? I said it way off more often. And you know what? God never asked me to say any of those things or to do anything. What he does say is if you have a need, you ask. Right? He doesn't say, oh, go make a vow, and then, but however, he does say, you know what, and, there is in the Levitical law of, if you give your word, keep it. Jesus even said right here, he's like, if you say yes, let it be yes. If you say no, let it be a no. Don't make any vows because everything that you try to vow on ain't yours anyway.
You don't have the power
And you don't have the power to control any of it, and it wasn't yours. Oh, I swear by heaven. If it ain't yours, that's God's. Well, I swear by earth. It ain't yours, that's his footstool. Well, I swear by myself. You ain't in control of yourself. You can't change nothing. You can't add one thing or take one thing away or change anything about yourself. What are you talking about? That's all God's. Yeah? And I remember, I don't know if Jason was a part of that, but I remember Chad back in the day getting really, really mad at me because they'd ask me to like go do something with them, and I'd say, well, God willing. God willing. And gosh dang it, Robbie, stop telling me God willing all the time. Just tell me yes or tell me no. And I'm like, well, I don't want to, because I don't know. So God willing, I'll be there, or I'll do, or whatever, because I don't know. And if I say yes, I want to try to keep it. If I say no, I want to try to keep it. If I don't know, and so it's hard. Yes? And there's so many things that we think that we are in control of that what we find is that we are not. And just, if anything good comes, we know it was God that did it. And everything else, it just is what it is, and man, we've got to keep on trusting God and walking forward. It's the only way I know to live it. Again, guys, all the different theories that existed around this and everything, I do personally, I believe that he did follow through with his vow, just like he said he was going to follow through with his vow. I really do believe that. I believe that because of the vow that he did and because of the act that he did carry out, his wife became accustomed for the daughters of Israel to lament her and to remember her. I think that it was used for a teaching tool for many, many years to come. What extent, what, how, what, I don't know. Okay? But it's evident that, all of them were very, very touched or crushed in that sense by this. Yeah? And so it became accustomed that for 4 days every year they would go and they would lament that this happened. I do know that in some cultures, still yet today, that is practiced, and what is taught from it is to not make oaths. What is taught is to not be quick to ever make an oath unto God. To consider what you're doing and what you're saying before you just go out there and do it. To think things through before you just jump out there. And because it is happening right here, Jeff becomes kind of coined as one who was a rash person making rash decisions. Now to me, right here in that moment, it's evident that he did it, yes? But yet at the same time, the conversation that he had right before that with the other king was so well thought out and so well placed that I don't see him as just being this crazy, radical, just off-the-chain person, and yet, I don't know, I wasn't there, so I don't know those details. But it seems like he actually kind of had some of this stuff together. And then yet at the same time right here, definitely, messed up in that sense on his vow. But one thing that is honorable is if you make one, keep it. Whatever cost. Like, try to keep it. On the flip side, especially the ones to God. Keep it. Yeah? But what's better yet is just listen to Jesus. Yeah? And let your yes be yes, and your no's be no. Yeah? And so yeah. We don't have a whole lot more to add to it, guys. Very, very sad in that sense, and yet at the same time, one thing also that was beautiful to me was her faith into her death. No, Dad, if you promised it, you keep your word to God. God kept his part. You keep your part. If that means my life, so be it. Yeah? And we have 2 months to go party on. Sorry. But like at the same time, her faith in that, I think was just very, very beautiful. That immediately she said, "No, my Father, you gave me the word of the Lord. You're doing to be important to what you has gone out of your mouth." And I just thought, I got blown away by that. I hope all of our children can stand for the Lord in such a way. Chapter 12. So some time has passed. It says, "Then the men of Ephraim gathered together, crossed over towards Zephon, and said to Jephthah, "Why did you cross over to fight against the people of Ammon and did not call us to go with you? We will burn your house down with you in it with fire." So Jeff said to them, "My people and I were in great struggle with the people of Ammon, and when I called for you, you did not deliver me out of their hands. So when I saw that you would not deliver me, I took my life in my hands and crossed over against the people of Ammon. And the Lord delivered them into my hand. Why then have you come up against me this day to fight against me?" Now Jeff gathered together all the men of Gilead and fought against Ephraim. And the men of Gilead defeated Ephraim because they said, "You Gileadites are fugitives of Ephraim amongst the Ephraimites and amongst the Manassites." The Gileadites seized the fords of the Jordan before the Ephraimites arrived. Fords, shallow places in which you can cross by foot. So they seized those areas, and with the Ephraimites who escaped said, "Let me cross over." The men of Gilead would say to him, "Are you an Ephraimite?" And if he said no, then they would say to him, "Then say, Shibboleth." And if they answered and they said, "Sibboleth," for he could not pronounce it right, then they would take him and kill him at the ford of the Jordan. And there fell, in that time, 42,000 Ephraimites.
You think they deserve to say that word?
Yeah. So, you see this different cultures in different places like that, but, even for us, from here to Texas, from Texas to, Louisiana, there's just certain, and it's the exact same word, has the exact same meaning, but one person cannot pronounce it the same as the other. And no matter how hard they try, with everything they have, they just cannot. And here, the simple difference is between s and sh. The only difference in the word. But because sh was not a part of their language, the Ephraimites, they knew that when they were asked to say that word, that they would not be able to pronounce it because that pronounces the way that the tongue and everything would have to be placed, that was not part of the vocabulary. And again, the knowledge of Jeff to know that something so simple could be such a trap. Like the dude was smart. I mean, he just had to be, to be able to kind of figure out some of these things, to know the history of some of these things. Jim?
Yeah, I was just wondering if, Ephraim is a famous last name. I wonder if the last name came
From this?
yeah,
Very, very, very possible.
like the Ephraimites or whatever.
Yeah, it's very, very, very possible, guys. A lot of these different groups that you see in this, they are the base of what is still yet today in the world. And so some of these names and things like that, now there are variations, and you change variations of them throughout time. I'm trying to remember looking at some of the history on some of these things. As this story becomes so famous throughout our history as human beings, that there was, it was one of the first Bible plays that was ever created, and one of the points in it, again, had to do a lot with the vow. So with the daughter's name, I can't remember what they put in there, but I think it was Ephraim. It's her name. And people adopted that later on, so given to their children and stuff, according to a little bit of the history from that, right? That was back in the 1400s, 1300s or something like that.
Yeah, the famous last.
Right. No, I know. I've heard it for myself.
Right.
And I don't know if that's where it really derived from directly or not, but there's a good chance that it possibly did. However, it's very, very evident that the Ephraimites, you never hear about them again in the history of fighting each other. So, however you want to look at it, whether it's just the unbelievers of them, killed off right there, and from that point forward, and they go believers. I don't know how you put that. If any of them could pronounce it right, they got a cross, right? they pronounce it right, so, then Cain, then a part of Gilead. Yeah. Okay, so he judged Israel for 6 years. And he died and was buried among the cities of Gilead. What does that mean, guys? I have no idea. And theories run amok. From one of the ancient writings, I can't remember who it was, but basically they kind of adopted it into the Quran and some of those kind of teachings like that, from what I understood. And, if I'm saying no that part wrong, I apologize, but that like he was kind of struck with some sort of like leprosy type of thing, or maybe had even contracted it from his time with those who were no good, worthless men. That his body parts possibly like literally rotted off. And therefore, when it says that he was buried amongst the cities, that literally pieces were buried amongst different cities. Some people say that that is what happened, because according to that writing, that took place, is that is what happened, and that it was a curse from God giving him back for breaking the Levitical law of burning a live sacrifice, human sacrifice. So you have all these different theories and all these different things like that. I think it's this way, guys. I think that if he did have leprosy, he had it. And if that's how God had him go, that's how God had him go. I don't think God was getting him back for any kind of sin or anything like that, because I don't see that consistent throughout Scripture. Okay? In that sense, as far as just, the consequences of the things that he lived and the places that he went and the things that he was involved in, possibly I could see that again. If he was living with a bunch of lepers, or still living with lepers and things like that, I can see you contracting it. Like, I'm not sure exactly how it's contracted myself. I'm not that smart myself, but I know that they believe that it can be transferred just by touch. I don't think it's quite that contagious in that way, but
I think,
it can be by touch.
when it's in its early form, after it dries, it's not, once it's still in the pus.
It can actually transfer. So you don't know. Maybe he had contracted it sometime throughout that with those raiding days and things like that. And then it was just something that later on. What was weird was when I first heard it, I heard it from over here, and I thought it was coming out of the speakers. And I was like, oh, dude! And then I was like, Paul's sitting over there. Like, what's going on? And then I look back there and he's asleep. So I'm like, okay, it's not getting in it. So it was just me, like, I heard it coming from behind me. I don't know, it was weird. So yeah, guys, what happened with all of that, I don't know. Here, and I went through multiple different translations. The translation later gets changed that he was buried in a city of Gilead. In a city. That may have been exactly the way it was. And he just lived, he died. Gilead had many cities, and one of those cities is where he was buried. Maybe that's exactly how it was. Maybe there was nothing to do with leprosy at all these different kinds of things. Again, a lot of those are just different thoughts and theories. Thought I'd let you know about it just in case, anybody ever approaches you, I guess, with it. I doubt that takes place in your life, but just in case. I really don't know myself. What I do know is that, obviously, he is listed as a hero of faith. Yeah? And that means that he had to walk it by faith, not by what he's seen. Right? I'm sure emotions-wise, feeling-wise, and what you would see is not to defend the very people that cast you out. Right? So I do see spiritual things in correlations, again, like we have seen with all of these, even with Christ himself. Because Christ is an outcast by his own people. And yet he came to save his own people. Yeah? God had to sacrifice his own son. Jeff there with his daughter. Right? So I can see certain things in that I was like, okay, well, it's kind of neat, seeing it from that aspect. Like I said, it is evident that as far as human sacrifice or anything like that, that was not something. Whether he even knew that of the law is unknown. Okay? And what is evident is if you go back into Judges chapter 1, when we started off when we started into this thing here with the Judges, what is evident is that they went away from the ways of the Lord. So as far as those instructions from the Lord, the laws that had come down as far as those human sacrifices not being permitted, okay? As far as that part coming in, I don't know how much by 300 years later, that information and that reality of those instructions can still be prevented. My point is this, it's not that it makes it right or wrong one way or the other, but it's amazing if you do understand the Lord, what the Lord says, how it can direct you in what you live out, or what you don't live out. If he would have known not to make oaths to the Lord, then maybe he wouldn't have been so quick to do so. If he would have known the scriptures that we end up having much later on, but that the Lord did not ever desire for an offering and sacrifices. Those never pleased the Lord. What he desired is the blood of his own son. That was our righteousness. Now I do believe this, whatever happened there with Jephthah, in his moments there with the Lord, as it states that he had those, whatever was happening in that was beautiful, and he's a man of God and he's sick. And God called him in that moment to be one of the judges here. Another thing that just historically wise is interesting, there's the major judges and the minor judges, okay, throughout the book of Judges. Most of them that we've talked about so far have all been major judges. Okay, how they were divided up is by the length of their story, how much is actually said about them, and the number of years in which they served as that. Okay, he is one of the only ones that in the number of years, in only 6 years, is actually still listed as a major judge. Because of the amount of his story of his life that God felt like was necessary for us to do.
So an oath is like, God, if you get me out of this situation, I'll
It's a promise.
be better.
Yeah.
Do whatever.
Yeah. It's a promise. Now, so for us nowadays, like oath is not something that you hear the word very much, right? But like back in the old days, what would be is if we shook hands. And I said, hey, listen, yeah, I'm gonna pay for that on Friday, and I shook your hand, and then I took that thing. The way that we viewed that as back when we were young, is you did it. Like that's blood right there. You shake hands on it, that's your oath, that's your word, that's everything. And guys, for them, it really was that way. It's not only until here, honestly, in the last probably 20 to 50 years that all of a sudden you see that being undermined a whole lot in our culture. And we are not, that is not true in all cultures throughout the world. But here in the United States, it's almost like nothing to give a person the word or shake their hand on something. Turn around and stop moving back, and it's almost expected. It's almost expected for you not to carry through. Back in the old days, it wasn't that way. And so an oath really is a promise, and it's one that's really supposed to be between you and God.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's the ultimate.
One of the only ways that's used in that sense today is like in a court of law, you put your hand on the Bible and say,
I swear to tell the
I
truth.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but.
Yeah. That's kind of the most purest sense of it in today's culture here in the United States, is in that one. Right now you have some that are unwilling to do so just because that is one of the few things that they recognize as being something of honor, where they would have to actually tell the truth. So some are reluctant to even do that. But throughout life, though, for us and everything, in the scripture, again, when he says, let your yes be yes, your no be no's, he says to let the word of your mouth be true. Now, there's two parts in that. What is real truth is God. On the flip side of it, though, is if we do give our word on something, then we should do everything we can to keep it. And he says, because everything else, what Jesus said there in that act was, everything else is evil. It's from the evil one. What is the evil world bring? Confusion, pain, hurt, division, death. Okay? And so, think about it really, really simply. If you walk into a store and they tell you that something's a certain way, and so you buy that product and you walk out and then it turns out not being that way, how likely are you to continue to shop at that store? You understand what I'm saying? Like they broke that trust, right? Right? And so there's that division that ends up taking place right there between the individual and that company is what I'm trying to use right here in that illustration. Yes? And so, just kind of, trying to think of ways to kind of bring it across in nowadays terms. But, for me personally, I'm like, no, if it's that way, if they try to make it right, then that's one thing. But if it's just like, they really just got me into it and then just took me for whatever all it was worth, then, then like, no, it's not a place that I want to, do business with or whatever else. And that division, that cut, that death that ends up taking place from that. It always causes pain and suffering, even when we make promises to ourselves, or to each other, I'm sorry. If we make promises to each other, then we can't fulfill them, it hurts. Right? And we know that from our own emotional state, yeah? And so, it's why the Lord said it's just better not to make them at all. Because, like, man, you don't have control over so much that you think you have control over. And what it leaves you susceptible to is for Satan to come in and cause all these different things within the hearts of others that was never necessary, because basically just because you said something. And that's like with him. The war had already been won, and God had already said he was going to give him the victory. He didn't have to make the oath. That caused his daughter's life, and the pain and suffering that came from it. It wasn't necessary to still yet have God and have the fruits and have all the victory. And I feel, like that's kind of a lesson for us. Is like, man, no, we don't have to run out there and make all these oaths to do it. No, what we need to do is love God, follow him, and let him give us the victories. Grow with him and just move forward. Yeah. Murders.
Yeah, you talk about the store, it's one classic, it said that if you have a bad experience in the store, you remember it for an average of 23 years. If you have a good experience in the store, you remember it for about 18 months.
That's human nature to its fullest right there, isn't it? Because, seriously, like, there's tons of things evil that I can remember in a moment, but to remember the good is sometimes, like, you have to work at it to remember, and it's kind of sad that our nature of our flesh is that way, The true thing is in heaven, all that evil stuff all gets burnt away, and it's only the good that remains. So we'll be able to remember things like that version, So,
Another example is like in the 20s when the banks crashed, and people had money in the bank, and they trusted the bank with their money, and then the banks running out of money, and they got burned, and so to restore the bank in the banks, the government had to like make an oath, and like we guarantee the money for otherwise the economy was going to
just, and even still today, that's scary. Because you see a lot of the same historical events kind of happen as far as that goes that led up to that, and that promise, is it going to be there? Is it not going to be there? For them to actually do so, which we almost had to, but we did not do it. But, they did, which ended up for a lot of us and allowing us to survive throughout that period of time. But yeah, guys, there's tons of historical references to it that kind of show you the same thing. Again, spiritually for me, guys, what I just like us to remember, is, man, what? Let's not run down the road making vows. Let's just, if there's any vow, man, Lord, you keep me. You protect me. Lord, you just keep me going. And then I'll be there with you, because that's already what you promised. So that vow's on you. My own, that's yours. Man, Lord, I'm just going to keep on learning. You just keep on charging. You do the rest. Well, guys, I love you. Hope that is a good class, guys. So we finished up this one, guys. Now hold on just a second, though, real quick. So next week, guys, for my birthday, my beautiful, wonderful, wonderful wife. She knows that there are certain artists that I really, really enjoy and really, really love. And one of them happens to be Jack Johnson, which some of you know and love also. As an artist. And so she bought me tickets for Jack Johnson some months ago. And she was like, look at the tickets, and all she was like, oh, hey, babe, by the way, it's a Tuesday night.
I'll find another day.
Yeah, she'll find another day. I'll be here, and she's gonna find something. So guys, I don't know next week. Guys, we can just postpone until the following week if you come right in on dating. You guys prefer doing that? Or would you like to go ahead and try to have something and then we try to find somebody else to lead it and then by Sunday it could be postponed anyway?
I've been asked to babysit, so it's gotta be postponed.
I really don't understand the correlation in that, but, so I had a bunch of you that nodded yes, postponed. So, I mean, you guys, this right here is pretty much the majority of those who have been being here, so I'm asking all of you guys what you guys would like to do. Okay, I had 5 or 6 already right here that said postpone. 7,
Anyway, fine.
either way is fine.
I know Matt, you got
8. I have 8, I don't even know how many this is in there, but
I'm gonna miss dinner.
for me, big split. Oh, here now. I ain't gonna miss you, but I'll miss the dinner.
I agree with that.
Yeah, sure. I'm just like, so I mean, for the majority, why it sounds like postpone is kind of the general consensus. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So that's what we'll do for this next Tuesday. All right. I apologize on one hand. On the other hand, I pray that we do able to have a good time together and enjoy the concert and hope that it's not overly hot. Because he never does indoor. He always does outdoor. He tries to do everything as low cost as possible. I had never been to a major concert like that before in which the tickets were affordable like that. And he does that, that's everywhere he goes, he's just that way. He just, it's a little bit different. He's a different kind of character. He's not, he is cool. He's able to actually make ukulele and does. He's from Hawaii originally, so he takes on a lot of that, a lot of that influence, kind of brings in some of like the soft beat and some of those things that were brought to Hawaii throughout World War II and those kind of things. Kind of meshes some of the culture there along with some rock and roll, some blues, and he kind of brings together like these few different styles, and he brings it together in a mesh that is just beautiful to me. And reminds me a lot of my grandpa and the way that my grandpa played back when I was a kid. I think that was another draw me for the first time I heard him. I heard certain rhythms that my grandpa would play that he was playing. And it was just like,
Campfire.
it is beautiful campfire music, yeah.
Wait.
And, okay, it's supposed to be a new album. It's a new tour for a new album, so hey, they release some new songs. So I'm excited about it. But anyways, guys, I love you. I appreciate you guys talking that for us. I really do. I do pray that we have a good time and it can be just a blessing. And hopefully for all of us, maybe that extra night of rest will be something that God will use to produce better things for us too. Okay. Yeah, now we'll wait to do something and then everything will be taken care of. I just heard Amanda volunteers. All right, guys, I love you all. Let's close with the word prayer. All right, just real quick.
All right.
Little, if you would, close for some